Hello people of the internet, fellow YouTubers, this is Fuzzfinger and this is the Mr. Pandaria beta, and we are running the Tomb of the Forgotten Kings, which is the fourth scenario to open up on the beta servers. This came in the last beta patch. There's nothing really to get from here in terms of rewards. We didn't get any valor points, and I believe you should get a blue item at the end of each scenario run, but we didn't, so I guess all that's yet to be implemented. But as for the scenario itself, all the bosses and trash and everything seem to be in place. By the way, those squares on the floor release a trap, as is the case there by my demonstration, so do not stand on those. You have yellow, blue and red traps. Yellow for lightning, blue release a cold trap, and red of course releases a fire trap. This isn't a difficult place at all. One slightly frustrating thing is that also in the last beta patch, Blizzard now allow add-ons on the server. However, I couldn't seem to get any add-ons to work without constant LUA errors, etc, etc. But it's early days, so I wouldn't expect any different. The only really annoying thing about it is that since the beta patch came back up, all my key bindings are no longer working at all. I press the keys and nothing happens. So I have to use the mouse a little bit more than I would like to. Not that that's really a problem, as I mentioned. This place isn't too difficult at all. There's a couple of bosses. They have about 4 million health, which isn't really that much at this stage of the game at level 90. And to top it all off, on the beta server you can actually get a load of free epic PvP gear, which is, although it has resilience on it, is a lot better than some of the questing stuff you probably end up with at level 90. Although I didn't actually get any yet. I only actually found out about it at the start of this instance. So this is the first boss. As you can see, he's not posing too much of a problem. I don't actually know if there's supposed to be any strategies to him. We just seemed to hit him and everything went well. In fact, I think we only actually have one death in this run. And that's not me actually, it's one of these others. Which you'll see later on in the boss fight. Could have been avoided, to be honest, but it was still easy enough. I actually love the idea of these scenarios, but I hope things are a little better on live. And the reason I say that is that although you don't need a tank and healer, the queues are about 10 minutes at the moment on the beta servers. And at the start, I didn't actually record it, so it's not in the video. At the start of this run, someone left straight away and we had to wait about another 10 minutes for somebody else to join, even though it was at the start of the queue. So maybe that's just a problem on Blizzard's end, although it's also possible that people just aren't queuing for scenarios, which is unfortunate because they are quite fun and they are quite quick. So I hope that they are popular when the game actually comes out. You probably know how these work now anyway, but basically you have a linear progression of stages which you have to work your way through. Each one tells you a certain set of objectives, or one objective you need to accomplish, and once you do so, then you can move on to the next. And you usually get about 4 or 5 stages in a scenario before the end. So there's the other traps we were talking about earlier. Again, do not stand in those. Not like I did anyway. I have to be honest now and say that I really actually am enjoying this Ret Paladin on the beta server. At first, when I first started playing the beta and levelling up, I found it quite tedious and a little bit boring to play. But over the last few patches, I think the class has really been improved. And I'm not speaking, of course, about tank or healer. I haven't tried those roles. But as far as retribution goes, I think it's in a nice place, and I hope things don't get changed too much now before live. I think it's so much better that many of the abilities now generate holy power. It just creates for a more interesting, a more fun gameplay, less limiting gameplay. You don't have to just spam Crusader Strike over and over anymore. So right now we're on stage 3, which is searching for the source of evil. And if you go on your map, then you can see where the objectives are. It's not really possible to get lost in these scenarios. Blizzard have kept it as simple as possible. And seeing as how we're all, you know, only just starting off the first tier of raiding, I can imagine these scenarios getting easy quite early on. By that I mean a few months after the expansion starts, you'll probably be able to do these with 1 or 2 people. A bit of healing doesn't hurt, although you come here with 3 DPS. A lot of classes obviously nowadays do have their own sort of healing abilities and whatnot, so you will probably be using those. But you definitely don't need a dedicated healer. It's mainly about just avoiding damage and just being sensible really, and moving out where you need to move out. Yeah, it's possible to die if you stand in the fire, but it's like that when you're questing, so it's really not much different. Blizzard said that the scenarios were a kind of elite quest, since you don't really get elite quests in the world anymore. It's a way to bring them back without having to spend an age trying to find players to help you with them. Now you just jump in the queue and hopefully within a minute or so, since you don't need tank or healer, you'll be in the middle of the dungeon. I'm not exactly sure what makes these statues spawn. Since, oh right, okay, yeah, it's when you stand on the trap. So they're probably optional, to be honest. Or maybe you do have to stand on them in order to complete this objective. Guess we'll find out in just a moment. They're not hard to kill, they've got like 300k health. So when there's 3 of you, they should go down fairly fast. As of course they are. Okay, you don't actually even need to kill them, I don't think, since we left a few up and we still managed to get the quest objective. Or the scenario objective, rather. But now we're on the final stage, so this means there's 4 stages here. And we have to kill the Abomination of Anger. But, of course, there are a few trash packs before it. And these are simple enough, just make sure you kill the thing in the middle, which seems to spawn more mobs. Once you've killed that, then they no longer spawn. But you also get a buff and a debuff in one. Increases your damage and your damage taken. Since the damage taken is really low, unless Blizzard decide to buff this before the game goes live, I don't really see there's a problem in stacking that buff up to 20, which is the maximum, I think. And I believe this is the last trash pack before we move upstairs, where there are a couple more, though you only have to go for the one. So, whatever you can leave here, just leave. The boss doesn't pull them when you aggro it. So they are optional if you can get past them. These sort of mobs always remind me of Alcatraz back in Burning Crusade. Nasty 5-man instance that was when it was first released. And I was going to err on the side of caution and pull this group in case the boss pulled them, but they pulled the boss anyway, and it didn't. So that's all fine. And this guy is fairly easy. The only ability he does of note is preceded by a warning where you are told to run away. We do, except the gnome decides not to and dies. That's the death I told you about, but still we managed to duo the last half of this boss. This is supposed to be the Abomination of Anger, but if this is Abomination of Anger, I guess Blizzard haven't really met my wife in the morning. Oh, Please don't tell her I said that. And once you've killed this boss, that is the end of the scenario. We were kind of expecting there to be some rewards, but there wasn't. As you can see, there's nothing, so we weren't quite sure if we'd finished or not. But then we came to the conclusion that we have, since that was the final stage. But that's it. That is the Tomb of the Forgotten Kings. I enjoyed it actually. I thought it was a nice little scenario. I'm glad that they only take about 10 minutes. If you haven't got time for a full 5-man dungeon run, then these are a nice thing to do, and you will still get your Valor points for doing them, so they are definitely an option there for you. But then Blizzard's new philosophy is to give Valor points for everything, even if it's not a great amount, just so you could do the content you want to do, whether that be dungeons, raids, scenarios, daily quests, whatever it might be. But that's it until the next scenario, whatever that may be that Blizzard open up. Hopefully it might be the Theramore scenario. I'm looking forward to that one. I think quite a few of us are, since it's been hyped up. Let's hope they get that right. But until next time, I've been FuzzFinger. Thank you very much for joining me, and I'll see you in the next video.